Parsha Shmini, Parshas Parah. Big week. We're marching our way toward Pesach. Purim is behind us. The spirit of Purim is still in the air. It's just a couple of days ago. My voice is still not back since Purim, and I hope it will hold up for tonight's shir. But each week now, this week we're in the third week of the Dalet Parshiyos. We had already Parshas Shkolim, Parshas Zachor. This week Parshas Parah. Next week Parshas Chodesh. And when we start talking about Parshas Parah and Parshas Chodesh, Pesach is right here. It's right around the corner. So we'll try to stick in a couple different pointers about Pesach each of the next few weeks. Appreciate the photographer here tonight, videographers. Okay. The pasuk says, Ki ani Hashem hama'aleh eschem me'eretz Mitzrayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is speaking. And this is after the parsha of where, toward the end of this week's Sedra, we discuss about the different things which are kosher to eat and other things which are non-kosher animals which we are not permitted to eat. And as soon as we get done discussing all the different types of animals and all the things which we can and cannot eat, the Torah tells us, Hashem says, the reason why this is all said is Ki ani Hashem, because I am a HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hamale eschem me'eretz Mitzrayim, I took you up from Eretz Mitzrayim, Liyois lochem le'loikim, V'yisem kedoshim ki kadosh ani. You should be kadosh. You should be holy. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, because I am holy, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the Gemara, Masechta Bava Metzia, Daf Samach Aleph, Amid Beis, is medayik in a lashon of this pasuk. The pasuk here uses a lashon of Hamale eschem, which I took you up. Hamale, we all know, aliyah, right, means going up, up. Under normal circumstances, most of the time, when referring to going out of Mitzrayim, it's just that, going out, Yitzias Mitzrayim. The pasuk usually says, Asher hoitzei eschem, I took you out of Mitzrayim. And in this pasuk, the Torah chooses a lashon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu says Hamale eschem, where I took you up from Mitzrayim. So you have to see, there's a Rashi over here. Rashi says, it's very interesting to note that there is a Tanai here that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying. Hashem is telling us a Tanai, a condition. And Hashem is saying that you were brought up from Mitzrayim with a condition. And the condition is that you are Mekabel the mitzvahs. And it's a Tanai. And it's a Tanai we have to know all the time when we discuss going out of Mitzrayim, and over here when we discuss going up from Mitzrayim, that there's a Tanai involved, says Rashi. And we're saying this Tanai is that you have to keep the mitzvahs. That's the only reason HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, the only reason I took you out of Mitzrayim. You need to keep the mitzvahs. So the question really begs to be asked, if we're saying this condition, and that's the reason we're using a different lashon in the pasuk, why do we choose over here by the parsha of Machalos Asurais? Why do we choose to give this lesson over in the parsha that tells us what we could and cannot eat? Why is it such a vital place? Why does this play such a vital role? We have to teach a lesson and we choose this place in the Torah to teach this lesson. Why is that? So Nesiv Shalom wants to give an explanation to this, and he begins as following. He brings down a Ramban, and we've mentioned this Ramban on numerous occasions throughout the Torah. And the Ramban tells us on the mitzvah of Kedoshim Tiyu. The Torah has a mitzvah of you should be holy, Kedoshim Tiyu. The Ramban says a lesson, and that it is this mitzvah of Kedoshim Tiyu is talking about what? It's talking about Kadesh Atzmacha B'Mutar. And we've discussed this a number of times. Kedoshim is referring to a person should be holy, should be on an elevated level, doing the things that are actually mutar. That after the Torah goes through and tells us all the Isurim, and tells us all the things that are actually Asur, the Torah adds on one very, very important lesson. The Torah is telling us, do not be novel b'rshus HaTorah. There's a way to go about your life, and there's a way to act even by things that are not explicitly usher. And the Torah is telling it to us here, after the parsha of Machalas Asuros. The Torah is teaching us this very important lesson, to teach us that this lesson of Kadesh Atzmacha B'Mutar, this lesson is vital to the lessons of eating. That you're eating, and the things that you eat have to be B'Kedusha, even if it's mutter. And we're a few weeks before Pesach now, and we said we're going to try to stick in a few things about Pesach each week, so we could give a little bit insight into Yetzias Mitzrayim, right? We're a couple of weeks before. Let's talk about Yetzias Mitzrayim a minute. The Nesiv Shalom says that there were two chalakim by Yetzias Mitzrayim. The first chalik of Yetzias Mitzrayim was a Yetzias Mitzrayim, Asur Meirah. Klal Yisrael was in the Mem Tes Shari Tumah, and what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us out from that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu removed us from Mitzrayim. Asher Haitzesi Eschem Eretz Mitzrayim. The Yidden were in the Mem Tes Shari Tumah, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu went ahead, and that's the first chalik of Yetzias Mitzrayim, that He took us out. Now you're out of Mitzrayim. You have the opportunity to get out of the Mem Tes Shari Tumah. That's one. And then the Nesiv Shalom says, there's a second part. The second part is the other part of the pasuk. Liyois lochem le'elekim. One part is getting out of Mitzrayim, and then there's the second part of Liyois lochem le'elekim, to tell us that you are the Am HaNivchar. That's the second part. One part is getting out. You're not in the Mem Tes Shari Tumah anymore. The second part says in the Nesiv Shalom, the second part of Yetzias Mitzrayim is that now you are the Am HaNivchar. And you know what? You have to live up to that. That doesn't come automatically. The Yisem Kedoshim. It's mentioned at the end of this week's parsha. It's mentioned in Parshas Kedoshim. That is a chelek of Yetzias Mitzrayim, and it's an extra chelek. And the Torah tells us about that in this week's parsha. Hamale Eschem. First there's the Yetziah of Mitzrayim, and then there's the Kedusha part of it. There's the Hamale Eschem, because Baruch Hu took us out. Liyois lochem le'elekim. I'm bringing you up because now you have to be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A lashon of Aliyah in this week's parsha, as opposed to Yetziah. Not just to prevent yourself from doing Yisurim, not just to refrain from doing Averos, but it's to always work on raising your level of Kedusha. It's not just enough to stay away from doing Isser. See, Shalom brings Yesoid Avodah, who brings from the Rambam. The Rambam writes in its Igros, in the letters of the Rambam, that when we talk about Machalos Asuros, he says that the hashkafas and the machshavas and the deis of a person, they all stem from what a person eats. You're wondering at the end of this week's parsha, our first question is why it's such a, we emphasize and we put in Hamala Eschem in that parsha, Machalos Asuros. The Rambam writes that all the hashkafas and all the deis and all the machshavas of a person, they begin and they come from what a person eats. And a person has to know that everything that he eats, you have to eat carefully. Everything has to be, aside from being on a high level of kashrus, and a person being careful, like we just saw the fine young gentleman that came into the store and asked 20 questions about the kashrus and where the lettuce comes from and where this comes from. So it was a perfect week for him to do this in front of us. A person, he did it mamish while we were sitting here, and sometimes you might say, okay, what's this guy doing? But this is the perfect week. He's asking about kashrus. These persons being careful. That's what the Rambam is talking about. The Rambam is saying that everything a person puts in his mouth, and all these things, everything a person puts in his mouth has an effect on his deis, on his machshavas, and on his hashkafas. And basically the Rambam talks about, we won't get into it exactly, the Rambam discusses how the food turns into the dam, it turns into your blood, which is the yesoid of your nefesh, your ruach, and the neshama, gets into different Kabbalistic things also. But that's what the Rambam is referring to, that the food gets into your blood, and that's the shoirish of everything that you do. So Nesiv Shalom says on this a beautiful diak from the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov brings the pasuk in Tehillim. The pasuk in Tehillim says Re'evim gam tzemeim nafsham bohem tisatov. We say it in Tehillim Kuf Zayin, that those who are hungry and those who are thirsty, nafsham bohem tisatov. In order to tell us that the neshama of a person is wrapped up in a person's being hungry and being thirsty. And the Baal Shem Tov says a beautiful thing here. He says in this pasuk, and he uses this lashon, the Baal Shem Tov, he says in this pasuk there is a soid gadol v'noira. It's a soid, a fundamental, a secret, however you want to translate it, something that a person has to know. He says, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create, the Baal Shem Tov asks, right? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create the taiva to eat? Why does a person have to have a taiva to eat? You know, you don't consume food or drink for a while. Yeah, there's you get hungry. It's an instinct. You get hungry. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create such a hunger that if you don't eat, your body needs? I need to eat. I need to drink. I need to do something. Zok the Baal Shem Tov, that every yid has kedusha locked up inside them. Every person is born. You have a neshama. You have kedusha inside you. And your obligation, says the Baal Shem Tov, is to release the kedusha that you have in your neshama, and it should permeate your entire being. It should spread over every aspect of your life. So you have the kedusha, but it has to be released. Zok the Baal Shem Tov. When you feel hungry and thirsty, it's because within that food lies the energy to release kedusha, says the Baal Shem Tov. What you're eating is wrapped up in that is the sustenance and the nutrients. So I know we're getting a little deep and a little mystical, a little Kabbalistic, but that's what the Baal Shem Tov says. Within that food is the hunger that you're having for that food is the hunger of your nefesh. Your hunger that should go inside your blood, and that should go. So that's why the pasuk says, "Re'evim gam tzemeim nafsham bohem tisatov." Your nefesh is wrapped up in that hunger and in that thirst. It's your nefesh that's calling out. It's your nefesh that wants to release ruchnius and to permeate ruchnius throughout your entire being. So really, this talk of neshamas is, of course, very deep, and we can discuss this probably for hours, and we still may not understand what's going on. It's very deep and mystical. But the point that we want to make over here is that the Torah is really speaking to each and every person on their level. Each person on their level has the capability to be kadesh atzmacha b'mutter. That yes, the food is mutter to eat, and the animals that the Torah says at the end of this week's parsha, they're mutter, but there's a way, the extra thing here, what we're saying is not to be a novel b'shus ha-Torah. There's a kedusha, there's the kedoshim to you. We say, by Pesach, b'chol dor v'dor chayev adam liris es atzmai. So when we say that, says the Nesiv Shalom, it's both chalakim of what we discussed. First is the chalik of Yitzias Mitzrayim, the Yitzia from Ra, and Memte Shari Tumah, and then there's where we became the Am HaNivchar. We have to remember that, the Kedoshim to you. I just want to end, he brings from the Beis Avram. Beis Avram says, on the Lashon of V'hiskadashtem V'yisem Kedoshim. Seems like it's a double, redundant Lashon. Make yourself more Kaddish, more Kaddish. Zok the Nesiv Shalom, he says, and this is also in Yom V'yoyim from Purim. How does a person become drunk? A person becomes drunk, takes one cup, and he drinks it down. From that alone, nothing's going to happen. But then he takes another cup, and he takes another cup, and he drinks it down until a person, that's how he becomes drunk. V'hiskadashtem v'yisam kedoshim works the same way. If a person wants to become a kadosh, if you want your life to have more kedusha, you have to take one step today and another step tomorrow. You need to pour it on. One cup and another cup of kedusha and another cup of kedusha, and then you'll be kadesh atzmacha b'mutter. Then you will reach that level, and that is the lesson from the end of this.